The long walk back down the mountain and the bitter cold wind biting into your very soul barely registered to you. You were so lost in your thoughts, in the story that was just told to you from a source that you never would have believed only the day before. You still have no memories as to your past, as to who you are or even what you are. You caught a glimpse of yourself in the stream when you stopped to quench your thirst the other day, and what stared back at you in the reflection was unlike anything you had seen before. You didn't look like the rest of the people you had seen since you started wandering around aimlessly a few days ago, which is the first solid memory you have. The face looking back at you in the reflection had horns, a scaly face, and piercing eyes that had the look of age as old as time itself. You had thought you were what these people called an Argonian, as you could see your body had scales like one, but the face definitely looked like the rest of these people, only with a few scales on it. As you stared at that face in the water's reflection, trying to remember anything, that is when it happened. A dragon, immense in size and ferocity, landed nearly on top of you, and would have crushed you if it were not for lightning-fast reflexes and uncanny ferocity. Before you knew what had happened, the dragon lay dead at your feet. As you stared down at your blood-covered hands, the body started withering away, and an energy came out of the dead dragon and into your body. You felt stronger, faster, more alert, and you knew that somehow you now possessed this beast's very soul. Strange images now occupied your mind, images of soaring high above the mountains on great wings, images of dragons, images of a great black dragon that brought feelings of both admiration and hatred that were alien and confusing to you as to how you felt both towards this dragon. An image of falling to the earth with a great pain in your right wing as you plummeted. You didn't know if these were memories of your own or images of this dragon's whose soul you somehow absorbed, but one thing you knew without a doubt at that very moment was the pull you felt to get to the top of that mountain you are now descending from. When you had gotten to the top of the mountain and saw that nothing was there and no answers to be learned as to who and what you were getting ready to start the long descent back down when you heard the roar and looked up and saw another dragon coming in. You had readied yourself for another attack, but to your surprise this one landed in front of you and showed no aggression. As you stared into its eyes, you felt a strong sense of familiarity. Somehow you knew this dragon. Then he opened his mouth and started talking to you. He said his name was Parthenax and proceeded to tell you a story unlike you had ever imagined. "Greetings, Vulvingdin," he said. "I see by the look on your face you are in need of many answers. Come sit, let me give you what you seek." As you listened to Parthenax, he explained how your full name is Vulon Vingal Dinok, which means night-winged death in our tongue. Our tongue, he said. He proceeded to tell you an amazing tale, that the great black dragon in your visions is a dragon named Alduin. You had been his most trusted lieutenant in an age long ago. Parthenax proceeded to tell you how he had come to you in secret with proof to Alduin's ultimate goal, which was to destroy all of Nirn, and if he was to be successful, how it would also mean the end of all dragons alongside everything else. You had not wanted to believe it, as you were fiercely loyal to Alduin, but with all the evidence you could not deny it. And that was when you and Parthenax came up with a plan to preemptively take out Alduin. As you were flying back from your clandestine meeting with Parthenax, your mind lost in thought and defenses down, you didn't see the dark shape rocketing towards you. You felt the impact and the severe pain in your right wing. As you started plummeting, your wings useless, you looked up to see Alduin with hatred burning in his eyes and a large part of your wing clutched between his teeth. Parthenax then proceeded to explain how he located your body and pulled your soul from it and shouted your soul into the body of a long-deceased human, a great dragon slayer in her time. where you slumbered until the time would come when you were needed to help thwart Alduin's return to finish what he had planned millennia ago. That now that Alduin is returned, you have awakened from that slumber. So here you are, lost in your thoughts once again, working your way back down this mountain. You are unsure if any of the grand tale you have just been told is true, or all of it is, but you do know that this feeling to confront this Alduin, this great black dragon, that stirs many conflicting emotions within you, is a pull that you couldn't ignore even if you wanted to. So you will pursue this course and face this Alduin, and maybe, just maybe, recover who you are at the end of it. Hey guys, Tat here. Welcome to my channel. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. Alright, so what we got going on here is a character build. It's actually 3 characters, but 1 character. The backstory, everything is all the same character. It's just there's 3 different builds, 1 for each element of fire, frost, and shock, for whichever one you decide that you want to play as. But the backstory and everything is going to be the same. So, as you gathered from the backstory, you were a lieutenant of Alduin's in ages past, and fiercely loyal to Alduin, but Paarthurnax had come to you and explained with evidence what Alduin's ultimate goal was, which was to destroy all of Nirn, and how that in return would also mean your destruction and all other dragons and with everything else, because everything would be destroyed. So you concluded that you were going to work with Paarthurnax, and you guys were you came up with a plan to preemptively take out Alduin. So Alduin somehow got word of this, or caught wind of it or something, and he ended up taking you out before you could even attempt to take him out. So what had happened was, of course, he killed you, and Paarthurnax had captured your soul, and he shouted it into the deceased body of an ancient dragon slayer. So your soul now is residing inside of this human's body, and you slumbered until the time came when Alduin returned, and you could continue your fight against Alduin. So where your story ends up, starting as you start playing the game, of course, is I would suggest you probably want to use something like Alternative Start or Skyrim Unbound, so that you don't do the whole beginning sequence, and just set it to where you start like out in the wilderness or something somewhere, and you start your journey, and you start the game. Basically, you don't remember anything. You don't even know who you are, what you are. You can see your hands and your arms and your body. You can see that you're scaly, and you thought that maybe you're an Argonian, what these people call an Argonian. But then you were drinking water from a stream, and you saw your reflection, and you did not have an Argonian face. You had a face that was very human looking, but just had some scales on it. And of course, that's where this all started. So what you're going to want to do is, if you're going to roleplay this completely, is, like I said, start with Alternative Start or Skyrim Unbound, and you're going to want to start the main mission as soon as you can, which is, you're going to go up to the throat of the world. Of course, the dialogue's not going to match with Paarthurnax or anything like that. There's nothing you could do about that. You're going to have to headcanon that, but your main objective with this playthrough, of course, is the main quest line. That's your whole purpose, is defeating Alduin. So that's where you're going to want to start. You're going to want to start doing that right away after you get the build built, of course. You're going to want to do that right away. And then after you defeat Alduin, the choice is all yours of what you want to do. Do you want to, play that you kind of went down a dark path after that, from just depression and loneliness and just feeling lost in this world? Or do you feel a higher calling and you're going to go a path of noble deeds and fighting for the just and stuff? So you can pretty much do whatever you want after the main quest line. If you want to start doing, Dark Brotherhood quests and Thieves Guild quests and whatever, if you're taking a darker path, or if you're taking a more noble path, you may want to do like Dawn Guard and side with the Dawn Guard, stuff like that. That's all up to you after that. But I would suggest for the build, just of course doing the main quest line first and getting that all done, because that's this character's main deal, is defeating Alduin. So like I said, it's 1 character, but there's 3 builds, basically 1 for each element, whichever one you want to do. I'm going to put this intro and backstory is going to be at the beginning of each of the builds, So it's because the story is going to be the same. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the build. Or the builds, I guess you could say. They're all pretty fun. I enjoyed the lightning one the most, but they're all really fun. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the builds, whichever one you choose, or if you choose all three. So we're going to go ahead and get going into the build now. So go ahead and sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. All right, roll the intro. Okay, welcome back to the third and final dragon hybrid person human, whatever you want to call it, build. This is the final one. We've done frost and fire, so obviously this one is going to be shock. Personally, I'd say she is probably my favorite, and I think you'll see why when we start getting into the actual gameplay on how she plays. It is a lot of fun, but it definitely requires certain spells and mods and shouts and everything for that to work. But when you see what she can do, yeah, it's a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun making her, and I have a whole lot of fun playing her. I actually went through recently and did Rigmore of Bruma and Rigmore of Cyrodiil. I've played them before, and I absolutely love those mods. I think those are probably a couple of my favorite mods that you can put on to Skyrim. The story that Rigmore, the two of them, the story that it tells it's spot on. I think it's phenomenal. If you romance her, it's probably the best romance that you can get in Skyrim. It easily rivals romances in other games like, say, Mass Effects or even Dragon Ages and stuff like that. If you romance her, it's a phenomenal romance. If you don't romance her, it's still they're a very, very good mods. I cannot recommend them enough. Very, very well written. The not just Rigmore but other characters are just, they're very memorable, and you absolutely fall in love with them. People like Ingol and Sorella and even Cassius. I'm not too big of a fan of Cassius, but even you just fall in love with him. He's still pretty freaking cool. The farting elf dude, the nudist farting elf, he's a riot. But yeah, I just got through playing both of those with this build actually, and it was a blast. I had a whole lot of fun with it. But anyways, we're not doing a review on the Rigmores. Again, I cannot recommend them enough. Maybe someday I'll do a playthrough of them, but they're definitely well worth it. I know a lot of people say they have a lot of problems running them and all that, and with conflicts or whatever and crashes, and I could tell you I didn't run into but one problem in each one in Bruma and one in Cyrodiil, and they were definitely my fault. Why the game was having a hard time getting through those two areas. Other than that, absolutely no issues with crashes, infinite load screens, nothing at all. So I was really reluctant to play them because of all the stuff I was reading about, oh, they're so unstable and this and that and that and this, but I had no problems with it. You definitely will have an easier time the lesser amount of other mods that you have running. So, because it does change a whole lot of things. There's a whole new lands and adds a lot of things to the lands of Skyrim and NPCs. It adds a lot. So definitely keep your mod list as small as you can feasibly do it, and you'll run into less problems. But anyways, we're gonna get beyond the Rigmores right now. I just wanted to explain how I just did this build and did a playthrough of those two with her, because this build, it's a lot of fun. Again, as you've probably guessed, she is the electric one, the shock one, the storm dragon, basically. I know we usually start off with these two with their player home that I chose for them. I could not find for the life of me a player home for like a storm based character and stuff. So I was able to find a frost one and a fire one, but I could not find any kind of a storm, electrical, lightning, whatever you want to call it, based player home. So she's kind of homeless. Yeah, she's homeless. She's a wanderer. There was one. It was called the Cloud Palace or Cloud Castle or something like that, and it puts like a big palace in the clouds up above Riverwood, and I mean it kind of suits the theme of lightning coming from the clouds and things like that. But I wasn't very happy with the house. It's extremely large, and I'm sure any of you that have put on and went through lots of different houses and stuff, there's a common problem that a lot of them have, which is the mod authors make them way too big, and that leaves them way too empty and bland looking and quite frankly pretty ugly. You have rooms that are big enough to put, in one room big enough to put a football field, and it's just empty. There's just nothing. You'll have some displays or whatever, but they're just too big, open, and I just don't like it. That house did have some guards and stuff walking around, so it wasn't quite as empty as it could have been, but I just didn't like it. It did not seem to fit her. These dragon builds and stuff of these three here, I tried to I envisioned them more like kind of solitary on a mission, have a goal in mind of defeating Alduin and all that, and they'd be focused on that. They wouldn't be focused on having a palace in the clouds or a castle or whatever. That's why I like the frozen sanctuary, just a frozen cave and stuff. It actually suited because it's just a place for them to do what they need to do, like a home base type thing, but that's about it because they really wouldn't be too concerned about a house. But anyway, so yeah, I leave player home choice up to you, the player, whatever you want to use, whatever you think fits. She's gonna need one though, I'll tell you that, because, well, we'll get into that when we get into the skills, but she's going to need a player home. I've just been using the Haven bag. I use the Haven bag on every playthrough that I do. It's always installed, and that's where I do all my crafting, enchanting, alchemy, whatever I need to do. I have the Haven bag there because it's so simple. It doesn't put a house anywhere in world or anything, and it doesn't seem to conflict with anything, and it's just readily available from the beginning of the game. Boom, you have your player home, and you can start getting all your crafting stuff done. It doesn't really suit a storm dragon person, but that's just what I've been using. But you will need a player home. I'll let you know that right now. But anyways, yeah, let's get into, I guess first is the appearance. The horns. Let's start with the horns. I believe, we'll find out more when we go through the inventory, I believe that they are the ancient dragon horns. I chose them because you can see she's got a lot of blue and purple going on, like kind of lightning-ish. And the two horns on top are like a bluish purple color, and then the bottom ones were kind of reddish. And I chose those because the only wings that I could find that kind of had a bluish purpley also had that red along the edge there. So the horns kind of match it. So that's why I chose the ancient horns, because they match the wings. The eyes, again, they are from the Eyes of Aber, A-B-E-R. The hair, again, is KS hairdos, but it's also got another mod loaded afterwards, which is multicolored hairs for KS hairdos. KS hairdos renewal, I think it's called. And yeah, you get the multicolored hair like that, and I thought this suited her really well with the purple and the grayish blue, strands and stuff in there. It really suited her look. I went ahead and chose for the outfit. It's the Vermina robes, but they've been remodeled. They're the remodeled Vermina robes, so you got the purple and all that, but they look a lot better than the vanilla Vermina robes. I think they do, at least. Let's see, what else do we got going for her look? Again, it's the Bonehawk rings with the Bonehawk amulet. The gloves and the boots are both the sorceress. Sorceress boots and sorceress gloves. And everything she's wearing is no armor rating. So she is no armor. She's wearing robes, basically. So you'll need the the flesh spells definitely, and all of that. But we'll get into that when we get into the spells. Um, see, what else do we usually do after the look? I guess we start working on her gear is what we usually go to next. She doesn't use any weapon again. You can see no weapon. So we'll start over here in her actual gear. With the Bonehawk amulet, time between shouts is reduced by 20%. Destruction spells and effects are 40% stronger and grants 40% resistance to all magic. So a pretty high magic resist there, and a pretty high destruction, bumping up your destruction, well, destructibility, I guess you can say, their effectiveness. Obviously I use the miracle enchantment on the amulet here. How I was able to get the amulet of Talos onto the Bonehawk ring is there's a mod called disenchant god amulets, and you can take any of the god amulets, the divine amulets, and it'll disenchant them, and then you can put that enchantment on anything you want. The Bonehawk ring is absorb health based on level from enemies within 14 feet. That's from Summer Mist, and also the destruction spells being stronger is from Summer Mist, because as you know, in vanilla, the destruction enchantment just makes the cost of destruction spells less, but in Summer Mist you can get an enchantment where it makes your magical, whether it's illusion or restoration, and in this case destruction, it actually makes the spell stronger, which is really nice. That's something I thought vanilla was really lacking in. So yeah, and grants resistance to magic. The Bonehawk ring left is again the absorb health and the resistance to magic. This right here, the Coulort no Nabi, I guess it's called, I usually have this for, I'd say, at least 95% of my builds. I absolutely love it. It comes from an armor pack, and I don't remember exactly what the armor pack is called. I'll put it in the description, the link in the description. But the armor pack only comes in UNP, and I always use CBBE, so I can't use the armor, but you get this thing here. It's called a Nabi in that armor pack, and you can see when you wear it, it puts that little hovering ball around you that's actually a light, and it puts out the same amount of light as like a torch or whatever. So, and it doesn't take your hands up. So if you go into a dungeon and all that stuff, just put out your Nabi, and it stays right near you like this, just flying in circles around you, and then you don't have to hold a torch, and you can have both hands free. So I usually use the Nabi here for at least 95% of my builds. I absolutely love it, and I only have that mod enabled just for the Nabi because I can't use the armor. Again, the ancient is the dragon horns for the ancient. There's no enchantment. That's to get into the Haven bag. Of course, we'll go into that this time because that's going to be the player home, and I'll show you why you need the player home. Nothing on the Monroe, nothing on the nose piercing, nothing on the pierced ears. Just all just purely aesthetic. Again, you can enchant all these. These two can be enchanted right now if you wanted. These right here that come from KS Jewelry, they cannot be enchanted unless you get the mod that basically lets you put any enchantment on any piece of gear. And then the Sorceress Boots is take 27% less attack damage while casting a spell, which is extremely helpful for this build, because you'll see that, well, she doesn't have any weapons, it's all spell casting. So while you're casting a spell, and she's almost always, not always, but almost always using channeling spells, so she's always casting, so that 27% less attack damage while you're casting, it helps keep you alive pretty well. I think when I went through the Rigmores and stuff, I didn't even use Dragonhide one time on either Bruma or Cyrodiil. I went through both the mods. I call them DLCs because, you know what, they're downloadable content. I know it's not official DLC, but I usually, when you hear me say, you know, DLCs, when I'm referring to like Rigmore or whatever, I'm referring to the mods, of course. It's not official DLC, but it's still downloadable content. So I just call them DLCs. It's easier for me. It's just habit, I guess. But yeah, I went through those DLCs without using Dragonhide or any kind of armor one time. She's got some amazing defense in her robes and stuff, and this is one of them right here by taking less attack damage. when you're casting a spell. So the other enchantment is 3% chance per second to restore 95 points of health, magicka, and stamina. So what that does is every single real life second, not in-game second, but every second that ticks in real life, there's a 3% chance that you're going to gain 95 points of health, magicka, and stamina. Okay, this one right here on the gloves, in combat, it pulls foes within 63 feet to you. It's got a 30-second cooldown. That one is called, I believe, magnetism or something like that. And it comes from the Summer Mist, the enchantment. So basically what that does is when you go into combat and stuff, foes within 63 feet, they all get sucked into you. So you'll see why that's really helpful for this build, to get all the enemies clumped up on top of you. And then again, 3% chance per second to restore 65 points of health, magic, and stamina. So that's like every second there's a 65 or a 6% chance to restore 95 points of health, magic, and stamina. And then the Vermina robes is it's the remodeled version. It's 20% chance to reduce the cooldown of your shouts to 3 seconds, and that comes from Summer Mist. It increases your magicka by 41 points. Spells are 15% more powerful. So that sounds like it might be 3 enchantments. It's actually only 2. The shout cooldown is from Summer Mist, and then the increases your magicka by 41 points, and the spells are increased by 15% more powerful. Those come from the mod that I used for all 3 of these dragons, which gives them that smoky type effect around their body. Like the Frost Dragon had the frosty effect. The Fire one had like the red smoky effect, and this one, she's got like you can see it's kind of like a pukey yellow brownie color. I couldn't find one that really suited a storm dragon, but I chose it for the just the fact that it gives your spells 15% more powerful. But that's why it sounds like it's 3, but actually the increased magicka and the other one is 1 enchantment. So that's all she's got for enchantments. You can see she doesn't really use a whole lot of enchantments. It's pretty base, actually. Let's see here. For the wings, we are using the friendly dragon wings. And of course, this comes from the animated dragon wings, which you make these mutagens at a cooking pot with the mod. And then the cure right here, if you take the cure, it makes your wings go away. And then of course, all you do is just take this one to give yourself the wings. This does not enable you to fly in any way. You have to have the flying mod. This is purely aesthetic. They're just animated. They're always doing that like pulsing right there. And if you jump, especially if you jump from a high area, they stretch out and you can glide. So you don't really have to worry about fall damage. But yeah, you need the flying mod if you want to actually fly, which all 3 of these dragons, they do fly. Of course, we got the dragon hide, but again, I didn't have to use this at all during the 2 Rigmors. I had no armor at all, except for the 50. The 50, you see I have a 50 armor rating. That comes from the Drakian race itself. It has, because you have scales or whatever, we'll go through that. It gives you a little bit of armor rating. This is for the shouts. You get this when you start doing the Thunderchild mod for new shouts and all that at High Hrothgar. This just tells you all the shouts that you can get with the mod, and actually how to unlock them. I keep it on me for reference. I already have all the shouts I'm going to use, but I usually just have it on me for reference if I want to look up another shout that comes with the mod. And that's the key to get into the library. That's where you meditate to unlock the shouts. And then just a torch on me. I guess what I should probably show you is how to get those effects, because I've talked about them on all 3 of these dragons now, but didn't really show you what they came from. So I'm using the mod called Add Item Menu, which I just put that on my lesser power, and then I'll click it, and it opens up every ESP that you have loaded in your load order, and then you can actually open that up and see everything that is included with that ESP, and then you can just pull the stuff out that you want, like if you were pulling it out of a chest. Watch, I'll show you here. So I just hit my lesser power. It brings up this big menu here, and this is all the ESPs that are loaded into my load order right now. So you got Stabs of Skyrim, Ordinator, Scarlet Dawn, Crimson Twilight armor. Here, the remodeled armor. Here's the flying ring. So if you want to be able to fly, you would open this up right here, and you would to pull out the spells for your flying configuration and your flying spell tome. Here's the lava lair that we used for the fire dragon. But here's dragon horns and tails. You can just open that up and pull out your horns, whichever ones you wanted. Here's the animated wings. But what we are looking for here is, I don't remember exactly what it's called. All those compound bows are for another build that I'm working on. That's actually an archer build, and they're using a compound bow. Wildcat, see, so you got Wildcat. That's the difficulty mod to make enemies more difficult. Enchantment cleanser. I needed that for a different build to be able to take an enchantment off of the robes of the Dark Brotherhood robes, the mage robes. They have the destruction enchantment on it, so I could get that off of it. So I get that enchantment off. Right here, that's where you get the little Nabi. It's called the Oser Coulort outfit. So you would just, open that up, and it's got all the pieces of armor for that outfit that comes with the mod. But in there comes that Nabi. So I can't, like I said, I can't use the Coulort outfit because it's UNP, but I like that Nabi. I love that little thing. Let's see, Apocalypse. So for your spells, you would just open that up right there, and you can just go through and pull out any spell. We'll go through that here in a minute because I'm going to need to show you this for the Apocalypse. Okay, right here, Enchanted effects. So with this mod, and all of these pieces of gear are in world, so the mod page tells you where to find them. But if you just open it up here and add item menu, you get a piece of gear that has all these different effects. So here is the one that we used for the ice dragon girl. And see, I would just pull this out like I'm pulling it out of a chest, and then I would disenchant it, and you automatically get that enchantment right there that increases the health and gain frost resistance. But what I'm getting it for is for that visual effect, like that frosty fog that's around them. And with her, I used this one right here, the Sijic, and it increases your magicka, and spells are 15% more powerful. So what you would do is you would just pull that out basically like you would a chest, and then when you go, you can see I'll have it in my inventory now, but so it's right there. So you would just go to your Arcane Enchanter and disenchant it. Then you can put that visual effect that you can see where she's got that smoke coming off of her onto any. You can put it, doesn't have to be on the armor. You can put it on anything. You can enchant it onto a ring or whatever. So that is all that. Let's see what we're gonna go over next. That's all the gear, right? Yes. Okay. So let's see, I need to find, okay, well, we can go over the Drakian stuff here. You can see that the Drakian race, your blood ties to Akatosh are stronger than most Dragonborn, and you can shout 20% more often. So your Drakian blood right there gives you a 20% cooldown to your shouts. On this one, I'm also using the Mage Stone, and that's, again, it's for, just like with the fire one, for the 10% more effective. Actually, it would be even better if you use the Atronach, but I'm already dishing out insane amounts of damage with this build that you really don't need that much, another 15% more damage or whatever. So I just stuck with the mage because she puts out some insane damage. Your scaled body, your dragon scales have you long impervious to most forms of heat, and therefore grant you 50% resistance to fire. And then where the Drakian scales, this is why I had 50 when you saw my armor rating, because your scales are as hard to penetrate as for any dragon skin, and therefore you have natural armor to most forms of weapons. So that's your physical resistance right there. So I guess what we need to go through next is we'll go ahead and go through our shouts and our spells. So Arcane Thesis is one that you get in the alteration, and basically what that does is it allows you to master one spell. So how you do it is you would like this, you would enable it, and this is a lesser power, and then whatever spell you want to master, you dual wield it. So you'll put it in both hands, and then you start dual casting. So both hands are you're doing the dual cast animation, and while you're doing the dual cast animation, you hit your power button, and it makes you master basically that spell, and it makes that spell 20% more powerful, or last 40% longer. Again, flying spell, we don't need to worry about that. That comes from a book from Thunderchild. You can find it in High Hrothgar library, and it does the same thing as Merciless Storm. It just cancels your active shout cooldown. So over here, the shouts that we're using, I also use curse on this one, but almost never. That's why it only has one word. One word of curse will make the enemy take 3 times as much damage that they do to you, rather than 5 like all. I just have it on there because if I get into a really sticky situation, I'll just curse them and let them kill themselves on hitting me. But the two main things on this build, well, actually there's one really big one for shouts, that is, but it's this one right here, evocation, and this one lets you store a spell into a shout. So you get 2 words of the shout, and what you'll do is you'll equip the spell that you want to put into shout form into your hands, and then you will speak 2 words of the shout. So all 2 words right there, and that puts the shout into program mode basically. And then within 10 seconds, whatever spell that you cast, it programs it into the shout, and then it's stored, so that now every single time you hit 1 word of the shout, the first word, you only have to say the first word, because the second word will get you to reprogram all over again. So you just hit 1 word and it'll cast that spell. And that is right there is one of the keys to this build right there. And of course, lightning shield is another one. And what this one does is it puts basically a lightning shield around you. And with all 3 words, you are completely impervious to damage. It's pretty much like become ethereal. And I use that for another combo basically. 2 words of it. If you only use 2 words, it'll basically shock enemies that are near you and stuff, but I just use it for all 3 words. You'll see why when we get to the spells in the gameplay and all that. Let's see here. And destruction, lightning strike. These 2 spells right here come from Fendrick's magic pack, and I will tell you right now, you're not going to use them very often. And it's not because they suck, it's because they are overpowered beyond belief. This ranged right here, they're both basically the same thing, but one hits enemies at range, this one, and then the other one here you actually have to touch the target. But they do the most insane amounts of damage that like this one right here against even a lightning dragon. If you hit it, even though they're resistant to shock, if you hit it with this thing, it'll kill it in about 2 seconds, literally like 2 seconds, without having to weaken the dragon to magic or anything. I mean, they are stupidly overpowered to the point where it's not even all that fun to use them. I just have it for, if I'm running into dragons like right in the middle of trying to do something else, and I just want to get rid of the damn things because deadly dragons spawned a couple of dragons on me and I'm too busy doing something else and I don't feel like fighting them. I just want to get rid of them rather than opening up console and just disabling them or killing them or whatever. I hit them with this stuff and it just like pretty much instantly kills them. This right here is going to be the core spell. This is the spell that we put into evocation. And what this does is you throw yourself at a target for 651 shock damage to health and magicka. You collect a static charge as you travel, dealing up to 5 times more damage based on distance. And that is insane. It is so much fun. The other one that we use here is Skyfall. Skyfall calls down lightning to strike everyone around the caster. So I use this one in conjecture with the lightning shield. You can see that I have it on number 2. So I shout out lightning shield and then I can do Skyfall. And well, I'll show you what Skyfall does right here. Be very careful with Skyfall if you're running like I'm running the community uncapper, so that your skills have no cap to them. Because when I was doing the Rigmore of Cyrodiil, and there's the big battle scenes and stuff, and there's like a lot of enemies around and stuff, because you're doing like a full on, like almost like the Civil War type thing. There's a big battle going on. I would do this lightning strike, and it would hit so many enemies that I would gain like 3 levels in destruction on one cast. So you're gonna fly your destruction up quick. But basically, what it does is it's a master spell. So you do this, and it just, there's no enemies around me, so you can't see it. But every enemy that would have been around me would have been struck by lightning. So it can get pretty visually insane also. If there's like 20 enemies around you, there's like 20 lightning bolts. And it does a lot of damage, those lightning strikes. So that is that. Static Dome is you cast it onto the ground and it makes like a dome, and anything that's in it or whatever, the dome does 203 shock damage, but it reduces their shock resistance by 50 points. And then the other main one for the build is Wall of Storms, which is the vanilla expert spell, and it's sprayed on the ground and it creates a wall of lightning that does 50 points of shock damage. So you can probably already see that with Static Dome, you throw that down and then you just fill the whole dome up with Wall of Storms inside of it, so they have their shock resistance weakened and you're just melting them down with shock, basically. Thundercrack, we'll get into Thundercrack and Lightning Strike. Again, this one is Lightning Strike is way overpowered, but this one, the Lightning Strike, Thundercrack, and Wall of Storms all serve the same purpose. Those are interchangeable. Static Dome is not interchangeable. Well, you don't really have to use it, but those first 3 are used in tandem with Static Dome. So you'll use Static Dome and one of these 3, whichever one you like using. I just keep it at Wall of Storms because, well, for reasons we'll get into here in a second. Let's see, that's nothing. We don't have anything there. So I guess what we're going to do here is we're going to go into the house so we can go over the skills, and I can show you why you need a house. It doesn't have to be a house that you can take with you like this, but let me just put away those Sigic. I use this container right here for my garbage can. But yeah, this house, it's nice. It's got your alchemy there, your arcane enchanter here, and of course you can see it's kind of got like a heat wave coming off of it. That's because I made it into the arcane nexus. It's got your anvil, workbench, tanning rack, your smithing wheel. Of course you have your storage all over the place, your weapons racks all over, and then you got some more storage up there, and you have this storage, weapon racks. But what you need is you're going to need a bed that is your own bed, and campfire beds do not work, so your tent and stuff will not work for it. But as most of you might have been able to guess already, is she's actually a Vancian. So what you would need to do is, we'll go over how Vancian works, but you need to be able to sleep. You only have to do it for an hour, and then I keep it on disciplined. If you want even more power, put it on focus, but you're going to lose half your spells. If you need a heck of a lot more spells, which you won't, your spells become 50% weaker, but you get 50% more of them. I just keep it right there in the middle and disciplined. I don't need Epic Finale or anything. I just put it on life tap just in case I do run out of spells. I can still cast and it'll just suck down my health. So you can see there I have 50 out of 50 spells. So I can cast 50 spells because I'm spec'd into Vancian. So that's why you need a bed. There's other ways around it. You still need a bed of your own or an inn. But campfire, tents, and stuff like that do not work. So let's go ahead and start going through our skills so that you can see how this all ties in. Destruction, you're going to take 2 out of 2 out of Destruction Mastery. Destruction spells cost 50% less magicka, and destruction spells are 0.5% more powerful per level of destruction. So at 100 destruction, you're going to have there be 50% more powerful. War of the Elements is another great one to get. You deal 40% more attack damage to targets that are taking damage from the burning ground created by conflagration, scorched earth, or Pyromancer Ascension or are being affected by electroconvulsions or hypothermia. The electroconvulsions are the one that we are looking for. Next, you're going to want to go ahead and get your Force of Nature here. Elemental spells and effects are cost 30% less magicka to cast. We don't care about that because we don't use magicka. In favorable weather, fire spells, sunlight, frost spells during snowfall, and shock spells during the rain. So we don't really care about that because we aren't using magicka, but we really need it to get, especially right here, to Robe of the Magi. If wearing robes and no light or heavy armor, destruction spells are 30% more powerful. So she's not wearing any armor, so right there that gives her destruction spells 30% more power. That is absolutely brutal. And then, of course, elemental specialization, you're going to spec into shock, and that's going to give her shock spells 15% more power, but frost and fire will be 15% weaker, but you never use them, so who cares? Ionized Path, 2 out of 2. Shock spells and effects cast on others are up to 30% more powerful based on the target's missing magicka. And of course, because you're a shock mage, you are decimating their magicka anyways, so you're doing a lot more extra damage to them. Static Field, shock spells that would leave their target above 75% health deal enough additional damage to make up the difference. So no matter what, the first shock spell you cast on an enemy is going to bump them down to 75% health. Arc Burn, shock spells hitting targets that are not fire resistant cause a plasma that deals 5 points of unresistible fire damage per second for 4 seconds. Magnetized shock spells have a 15% chance to lift the target into the air for 2 seconds, preventing movement. Electroconvulsions, that's the one that the other spell, this is the one we need for the War of the Elements to get the 40% more attack damage. And electroconvulsions, shock spells incapacitate living targets below 25% health if they are not shock resistant. Show them all. Shock spells and effects drain 50% more magicka. Storm Blast, you accumulate static energy from the ambient air. Every 6 to 12 seconds in combat, your next shock spell triggers a ground discharge that radiates outward from the target. All enemies in the area take 60 points of shock damage to health and magicka. You don't hardly ever use that because you're going to be killing things way quicker than 6 to 12 seconds. Absolute Power, aiming a Sparks, Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, Thunderbolt, or Lightning Storm spell directly at a target will magically levitate them in front of you for 6 seconds, reducing magic resistance by 25%. The effect has a 45-second cooldown. And of course, if you're going to use that Arcane Thesis, which I didn't use on this because I didn't need the extra, but if you want to bump up your main damage spell, which is probably going to be Wall of Storms, then you're going to need to get Destruction dual casting so that you can, because you have to be able to dual cast in order for you to get the Arcane Thesis. I got Arcane Thesis, then I started finding out that I'm doing way insane amounts of damage anyway, so I didn't need to bump it up anymore. But if you want it, hey, more power to you. Go ahead and just get that dual casting and make your Wall of Storms even more powerful. Restoration, all that's for is to move up here the tree, but it'll make your restoration better if you want more. Get 2 out of 2. I just got 1 so that I can move up. Same thing with Spirit Tutors. If you find them out roaming about, a good way to find them, there's 2 of them in world. A good way to find them is to just fly around at night, and they are like blue ghosts basically, so you can see like this blue thing moving around on the ground if it's nighttime from pretty far away if you're up in the air flying. And just go over there and just ask them for their blessing, and it'll make your restoration spells 1% more stronger. But what we're going for here is Pilgrim. Shrine blessings you receive are 1% stronger per level of restoration. That is going to make the Blessing of Talos last like about 7 hours. It's 6 hours and something minutes, almost 7 hours whenever you get the Shrine blessing. So you just get it and don't have to deal with worrying about it, 10 minutes later having to go get it again is what it seemed like in vanilla. Gods Immortals, again, it'll make your Shrine blessing now last for 12 hours, and it'll give you the Talos, I don't remember what it's called, but basically an enemy gets slain near you within 25 feet or something, you have a 20-something% chance to reduce your cooldown to 0 or something like that. With all the cooldown stuff we have, you really don't need it. I just went ahead and spec'd into it, but by all means you can throw that point somewhere else. Alteration. We are going to take 1 out of 2, just start moving up the tree here. Another big one for this build is Geomancer. If wearing robes and no light or heavy armor, you take 30% less damage from attacks while charging or concentrating a spell. So that, along with the enchantment that we had, if you remember, we're taking a lot less damage when we're channeling or casting a spell. So this is how I was able to get away with really not even running Dragonhide or anything and still be able to just decimate everybody, even though I'm magnetized and everybody gets sucked into me, so they're all right there able to hit me. I'm not trying to hide from them or run away, and they can't do a whole lot of damage because I have a lot of buffs to make it so I take less damage when I'm casting spells. Mage armor, I only took 1 out of 3. You're not going to need it, because if you are going to use mage armor, you'll be using the scroll of the Dragonhide. But that's just to move up to energy shield. If wearing robes and no light or heavy armor, reduces incoming attack and elemental damage by another 35%. So the other one was 30, this is 35. But you lose magicka equal to the amount of health lost. The damage reduction gradually diminishes as magicka falls below half. The energy shield is disabled when your hands are lowered. So basically, because we are Vancian, we have energy shield 100% of the time, because our magicka never falls. Well, your magicka will fall once you run out of spells, but you shouldn't be running out of spells. So yeah, energy shield you'll have 100% of the time. So just between these two right here, that's 65% reduction. And then with that enchantment, I think it was another 30 or something. That's 95 right there. So that's like 95% if you're casting a spell. Vancian magic. Cast magic like the wizards of old. Your next 20 spells do not use magicka and are twice as effective. When you run out of spells, you are unable to cast spells until you rest by sleeping at an inn or in your own home. And that is why you need a player home, unless you just want to keep using inns. I just use the Haven bag because you don't have to go anywhere. You just jump in your Haven bag, sleep for an hour, and boom. I know that's kind of cheesy. A lot of people don't get on my case that I'm cheating or whatever. It is what it is. I'd find it's just easier, just do that. There's other ways to do it that aren't quite as cheesy. You can go ahead and get Dimensional Door, or you can get the spell Waypoints and just put a waypoint at an inn. And then whenever you need to charge up your spells, if you do, and you're in a dungeon, you could just go through the waypoint, go into the inn, rent a room for 10 gold, go sleep, recharge, and then just teleport back to the waypoint and then take it down. Excuse me, sorry about that. Quadratic Wizard. Whenever you recharge your Vancian magic spells, you gain 1 additional Vancian magic spell for each 10 points of base magicka. And that's how come I have 50 spells instead of 20. Dungeon Master. Whenever you recharge your Vancian magic spells, you may choose less or more spells in exchange for increased or decreased spell effectiveness, and or choose one of 3 meta magic enhancements. Your choice remains in effect until your next rest. And you saw that after I slept, I could choose Disciplined or whatever, and then I could choose, Life Tap or Epic Finale or whatever it is. That's what that one and that one do. And of course, Arcane Thesis, I shouldn't even put the point in there. I did Alteration before I did all the other stuff, so I didn't really know how much damage I was going to be doing. So I got this because I figured I might need it, because I knew that, Wall of Storms was a little bit underwhelming for an expert spell in vanilla, but it's doing plenty of damage. So you really don't need Arcane Thesis. Save that skill point. But if you want a whole bunch more damage, by all means get Arcane Thesis. Then over here in Destruction, get Dual Casting and study or master the Wall of Storms, and you're good to go there. It's even more powerful. Enchanting, again, is pretty basic. 2 out of 2 Enchanting Mastery for 40% stronger. Gem Dust, crushing flawless gems for, man, I can't even get on it. Crushing flawless gems to make your enchantment 25% stronger. Regalia, no enchantments placed on robes, circlets, or hoods and necklaces are 30% stronger. I would suggest using your miracle enchantment on one of those 4 things so that you get 3 enchantments that are 30% stronger there. Attunement, again, buff up your enchantments if you want even more. You don't have to you can get this skill anytime you want. Like right now, I could get the skill. I even have 1 perk point, so I could get it, and it would make all the enchantments on my equipped gear 10% stronger. So you don't have to get it before enchanting, you get it after enchanting. Twin enchantment, pretty self-explanatory. Place 2 enchantments on the same item. Arcane Nexus, you upgrade an arcane enchanter for 2,500 gold, which makes your enchantments 25% stronger on that enchanter. And then of course Miracle, for 1 time you can place 3 enchantments on a piece of gear. If you legendary the skill and come back, you're not going to be able to re-enchant again three times. So it's only 3 times. You can only put 3 enchantments 1 time per playthrough. So make sure you get the enchantments that you want on the piece of gear that you want, because if it's enchantments you may want to change later in the game, or if it's a piece of gear that you may want to switch out for something different later on, you're going to lose that miracle enchantment. Let's see here. What else do we got? I know we got speech. It's the same thing as the other 2 dragons. It's just moving up to get all of these the Thum, the shout basically, and the universe listens, the Windborn, force redoubled, hurricane force, Thum of war, and merciless storm for the extremely rare occasions, which I did use it on the frost dragon. If you watch that episode, I did have a long cooldown actually happen. It's rare, but it did happen, and you can throw that up. But you could save your point there because you get that book from High Hrothgar with Thunderchild anyways, so the chances that you're going to need 2 of them to do it twice is very, very rare. But hey, if you think you might run into that situation, by all means get that one and the book. And that's it. Again, pretty basic. You're spec'd into like what, 4 or 5 different skills. That's it. You can see my magicka's way up there. That was so I can get more Vancian spells. As you saw, I have 50 spells. Let's see. I'm ready to go on all that, right? Yep, 50 out of 50. Okay, so let's go ahead and where'd you come from, you dumb wolf? But see, that was the magnetism working right there. And I don't know what killed him. I guess falling off the cliff killed him. I don't know what killed him. That's pretty funny, actually. So what we're going to do here is something a little bit different than the other ones. The other ones we started over at near the Western Watchtower and just started doing like Fort Greymore and stuff. But what I wanted to do on this one is something a little bit different. We're going to come right up here, and you can see that way over there, you know, there's a guy standing right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that dude out with a shout. So let me make sure I have everything equipped that I need to. Yeah, I got Evocation, Static Dome, and Wall of Storms. Okay, I might as well go ahead and put on Dragon Hide, because I don't want to like embarrass myself, and actually, because I haven't played this build for it's been like 2 or 3 weeks, so I don't want to be like out of shape basically on how to play the build and go and kill myself. But in reality, you probably most of the time won't ever have to do Dragon Hide. This is out of the 3 dragons, this one is probably the toughest, and it's because of all that extra bonus resistance to damage that you get when you're casting, and you're always channeling spells. But anyways, what we're going to do here is, I don't even see where that dude went now. Let me go ahead and I guess he went away. Oh, that's not good. He should come back up. So we'll go ahead and just wait for him to show back up. Another thing that you're going to need that I'll tell you right now is if you're going to do this type of build but not on one of these dragon characters, so you're not using the wings and the wings and the flying spell, you need to get an enchantment out of Summer Mist, and the enchantment is called Cushioned. And what the Cushioned it does is it negates all fall damage. You don't get fall damage from this if you're using the wings, because it basically takes that all away, but you're going to see why. So he's way over there, so I'm just going to shout at him. And you just ride the lightning over to him, and boom, he's done. Where is another person that's really far away? There's somebody way over there. So what you would do is you would just throw out your Wow, I actually died. See, that's what I'm saying. Out of practice with this build, I totally forgot to throw down my dome. But yeah, you can see with the key like little tricky move is this ride the lightning. Now you can put I will tell you right now, you can put ride the lightning, this one right here. That's what's making you go. And of course, the further you go, the more damage it does. But you can put that on your hand instead of as the shout. But it can only be equipped on your right hand. I'll tell you that right now. It cannot be equipped on your left hand. And there is a charge up time, so you can't really. The inspiration for this build kind of came from Vanguard from Mass Effect, where you kind of just fly at the enemy and slam into them. So you can't really do it very often or very quickly if you have it the spell in your hand, because there's a charge up time. But if you do put it in your hand, then you can put Skyfall as the shout on evocation, and then you don't have that charge up. And Skyfall is very devastating also. But let's see here. I think I don't have. Well, that's one thing right there. For one thing, I don't have my blessing. See, I rushed into this. I don't have the blessing of Talos, so that's kind of screwing up my cooldowns. And I don't. I need to. Well, I did on the other one, but where is? Oh, it's up here, I believe. Right there. Portable blessings. So this is another mod, portable blessings. It just gives you these blessings. You can buy the blessings, the charm of Talos from Heimskr, but I just use this mod to just go ahead and put them in. And then you just come over here and read it, and it's just like going to a shrine and getting the blessing. So now I'll have the blessing of Talos. So that is 12 hours of shout reduction. So let's go ahead and put that on here. Okay. And he just took off again, didn't he? I just saw him take off. So we got to wait for him again. Yeah, it's been a little bit too long. When you've played the build for, a few hours, I wonder if I could get that guy way over there. No. It's a little bit too far away. Or I just didn't have him on the thing. Nope, it couldn't grab him. Yeah, that's pretty dang far away over there to try to grab that guy. Yeah, once you've played the build for a couple hours or whatever, and you start getting into the swing of things, you really don't take a whole lot of damage at all. If this guy would hurry up here, we'll redo this thing again. That'd be really cool if I could get that guy way over there. He's really far away though. That one, I wasn't even on him. Okay, well this guy needs to hurry up here. I'm trying to think of anything else I can go over while we're waiting for this guy. I mean, of course, you don't have to wait here. I'm just trying to show off that the ride the lightning. You could just fly right over there and then just start fighting. But it's not like you have to do the ride the lightning every single time. I don't know why that guy keeps running around. And I've covered some really far distances with this Ride the Lightning. And I don't think I've ever tried to go that as far as that guy way over there. Okay, this guy's bad. But this guy's pretty far away right here, too. You'd be able to hit him with a bow, but... You see, as long as I was casting a spell, I guess I just sucked that guy to me. It was the chief. I don't know where the guy went that was up there. But you can see why the magnetism is so nice, because then you can just throw down your cage and everybody is sucked to you anyway, so they're all going to end up in the cage here, and then you just fill it up with wall of storms like that, and it'll melt them. Another thing you may want to do that I totally forgot that I was doing the last time I played this build, but I remember it now, is after you zip in with Ride the Lightning, start casting this right away. Because this right here has a charge up. The dome has a charge up. Now it's ready. And then you can throw it down. But if you're casting the Wall of Storms, you're going to take less damage because you take that less damage while you're casting a spell. You're channeling Wall of Storms. So you should probably try to get in the habit of doing that first. Plus you can start doing damage to them and shocking them, and then they're not busy hitting you as much. Again, if you wanted to put the Ride the Lightning as a spell in your hand, then I would suggest put Skyfall onto your evocation. Evocation. I suggest putting Skyfall into that. Then, because Skyfall is a master spell that takes the two hands, and you got to charge it up. So it's another long charging one. So being able to get rid of that charge up time and just being able to cast it right away. But it's already so overpowered that you don't really need it for a whole lot of things. It's kind of fun. I used it sometimes, like I said, during the really big battles during Rigmors, when there's a lot of enemies, and because it strikes every single enemy around you. And it happened to get rainy, so we're in a little bit of luck here, because we have more damage in the storm, in rainy weather, because we're lightning. So we'll go ahead and come over here to this, and I'll show you what the other one does. The other shout, what we do is you go ahead and equip that. This is going to be Skyfall. So what I want to do is I want to get as many people around me as I can again. And it doesn't look like there's any enemies here. So I must have already cleared this thing out. So let's go try to find another area. This place over here. And I'm not seeing any enemies pop out either. Wow, there's no enemies left over there either. What about this place? We're gonna find ourselves some enemies here. Looks like this has been... Nope, this hasn't been. So that's the lightning shield. I'm impervious to damage now. And then, if you want to just... You can just cast this thing here. Got that person over there. And everybody's done. So yeah, it's again quite overpowered. But it was a lot of fun in those really big battles because it will hit every single enemy. Where'd that dude come from? A bandit thug? And they're done. I think there should be some enemies right up here. And again, this is legendary with Wildcat and Revenge of the Enemies. Is there anybody around here? Yeah, he's right there.
Looky here. Looks like we got ourselves a hero.
And they're done. So you can see how you can just usually blow around without any kind of armor on, because you're zipping around with the ride the lightning, and then that knocks everybody down, and then they all get sucked into you, and you throw a cage down and just fill it up with wall of storms, and they just all just melt. Even things like Draugr that aren't particularly weak to lightning, they all just go bye-bye really easily. Let's go over here and we'll try to get a dragon to spawn. And then we'll go over the couple other spells. Okay. I don't see any skeletons around, so it doesn't look like I've gotten dragons to spawn here quite yet. I'll show you why that one is a little bit too overpowered for my tastes. It comes from Fendrix. All the other spells, they come from Apocalypse. I don't think any of them come from Lost Grimoire. I always have Lost Grimoire. Assault has started. So, go ahead and quick save here.
Freak.
What shout was that? Oh, that was Curse. I don't even know what kind of dragon this is, so I'm being on the safe side. Oh, it's just a regular dragon. I didn't need a shield. But, so I will hit him with this. Look at how fast. Bloop, he's done. So yeah, it's very, very overpowered. That is why I never really use it. And dude, somebody just shot an arrow at me, it sounded like. But I don't see any red dots. That is these spells right here. These are the only two that come from Fendrix. All the other ones are coming from either Vanilla, Apocalypse, and I don't think any of them are in Lost Grimoire. I think these are all, besides these two, are all Apocalypse spells pack. But yeah, this lightning strike, so that was the ranged lightning strike. You saw how fast it melted him. So this one right here, where you have to touch the target, it does the same amount of damage, but you're having to touch a target. So if you wanted, you could do the same thing where you zip in with Ride the Lightning, throw down a static dome, and then just use static or lightning strike instead of Wall of Storms. is another one. That's why I said those three can kind of be interchanged with Static Dome, but it does so much damage that, you know, Wall of Storms already does way too much damage with this build, so it kind of makes it not very fun to use. And then the other one is Thundercrack. So you could Thundercrack is kind of cool. It's only an apprentice spell, but you can still see because, well, Vancian gives you bonus damage, but deafening close range blast that deals 32 or 327 points of shock damage to health and half of that to magicka. So that's another one where you can zip in to the enemy, throw down your static cage, everybody gets sucked into you anyways with magnetism, and then you could just keep doing, you know, the Thundercrack like that. But the problem with the Thundercrack is that it's not a channeling spell, and because you're Vancian, you're going to chew through your spells very, very fast if you're constantly casting like that. When you run a Vancian build, it's a good idea to use a lot of channeling spells, because then you can keep putting out damage, but it's all classified as the same spell, the same cast. So if I'm going to cast down, even though I'm constantly casting right here, I can cast indefinitely, and that's only classified as one casting of spells. So if I started out with 50 spells, whenever I am done casting, now I'll have 49. And then if you do it again, you can cast as long as you want. It's all classified as one spell slot. Now I'll have 48. Thundercrack, every single time you cast it, which you have to keep redoing it, it's going to take one of your spells away. So that's not quite as good for a Vancian build. But yeah, there's the Thunder or the Storm build. As you can see, it's overpowered like the other two. I don't really know. There's a little bit of things here and there you could do to reduce the power. You could not be Vancian and just use up magic and stuff, because Vancian makes spells like 40% stronger, I think, or maybe 50, so twice as strong. I don't remember, but it makes spells a lot stronger. So you could do something like that. Take off the enchantment that boosts up destruction damage, or you could just run around having a lot of fun, you know, riding the lightning into people like you're a Vanguard in Mass Effect, and just slamming into people and throwing them everywhere and sucking them in with magnetism and just melting them with lightning. So it's a lot of fun. I think I've gone over everything. I can't think of anything else I need to go over. Yeah, I think that should be everything, really. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and cut this off here. I hope you enjoyed it. If there's any questions, go ahead and hit me up in the comments, or hit me up. I will make sure to get back to you. If I forgot anything, like if you saw a certain spell that I didn't cover, or where it came from, or a certain item, where did it come from, and I forgot to put it, you know, in the description under the listing of mods that you'll need, let me know, and I'll go through and find the mod and put it in the description. So yeah, basically, if you have any questions or anything, just go ahead and let me know. I'll be more than happy to help you out with the build or with questions that you might have. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on the next episode. Well guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please smash that like button, and also consider hitting that subscribe button. Again, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in future episodes.